So it's I'm training SEO video training session. Today we are talking about the duplicated content, which is something that I'm sure you've already heard about before in a positive way. Um, I'm not sure how much you might know about this, so today I've decided to create a special session about this kind of topic. If you want to think about the duplicated content within example, you can think, for example, that you are at a crossroads and there are two signals which are pointing to two different ways. And they both say the same thing. They both lead to the same direction, or sometimes to a very slightly different direction. So, if you had to decide which way to go, you would feel very confused. The very same happens if you're a search engine crawler bot. So we need to tell them which way to go. Basically, when we are talking about the URLs, we say that the links, URLs are the ways on which the crawler bots go. So we want to make sure there is just one way leading to the destination that we want, and that it's very clear, and we are not creating them any kind of confusion. We're not confusing them in any way. So a duplicate content can be created, can exist when the same kind of content is present on different locations, on different URLs, different web pages. This can happen for a number of reasons. Most of these reasons are technical. So today's session could be very, very technical, but we don't want to make any technical, too difficult, too scary training. So what I'm trying to do with this session is to give you an idea of what duplicated content is, how you can detect it, how you can manage it, and why it is important to know about it. Well, it doesn't only happen on different sites. So I'm sure that if you think of duplicated content, in one of the first things you might think of is I reused somehow some of the content which I had previously created on different sites. Or somebody copied my content. There are copies of my content around the web on different sites. I'm sure that this is generally the first things that comes into your mind when you're thinking about duplicated content. Actually, generally, very often there are different copies of the same content on different pages inside of the same website. So inside of the same web domain name, there might be many copies of the same content, and you might not be aware of it. So this is one of the reasons why I'm creating a session about this, because duplicated content is generally one of the SEO technical issues that you might not be aware of, that you generally are not aware of, but it does affect most of the sites, really, a lot of websites. It's not happened to me yet to find a website with a big number of pages which did not have any slight duplicate content issue. So you can imagine you might have some and you never detected it, just because it does not get detected just by looking at your site. Now I will explain briefly what it is and how it might be created, and you will understand a little bit better why you are probably not aware that it exists and why it is important to check it. Basically, you might not be aware of it because it generally gets created for technical reasons. Today, the session could be very, very technical, but I don't want to. I just want to keep it slightly technical and very, very easy to understand. You will know that there could be different versions of your own website. For example, your website could have different versions if it is if it has in its www version with or without the www, or the HTTPS and the HTTP version of it. These are different versions of your website. And if you think that they are the same site, well, in the eyes of a search engine, they are not. Unless you specify which of these versions is your preferred version. So this is something that I do recommend you. I know it becomes a little bit repetitive, but nearly in every session now I'm suggesting to become a little bit familiar with your Google Analytics and Google Search Console, and there are reasons for this. Now today I am talking about Search Console, which is a slightly bit more technical, and well, you really how many projects have taken on which had already been managed, and the Google Search Console had not even been set up. But well, sometimes you really need to acknowledge that you can't really you can't be dealing with a website without checking how the internal version is, if it's tidy, if there are any errors, if there are any problems in the crawling. It is really, really important. And well, when you are setting up your preferred version in Search Console, realize that there is no more than just one version, but it could become 4 versions of a website, and they cannot be treated as separated entities or separated websites, because, for example, if you get some backlinks to the HTTPS version and some backlinks to the HTTP, or some links to the version with or without the www. You just can't be spreading out so much your backlink profile. You need to have one solid, precise, and very controlled backlink profile. And all the links must pile up into your preferred version. And this can happen if you set it up on your Search Console. All the same, in that kind of tool, you can control many other things which are very, very important. You can check your traffic, you can check the structured data. One day we will talk about it as well. If there are any crawling issues, if there are any security issues, so much. So try and get familiar with it. And for example, the HTTP and HTTPS www is one of the reasons why you might have this kind of duplicated content which you were not aware of. Another way could be, for example, if you have a CMS which creates some dynamic URL parameters. What is this? This is not too technical if I explain it in this way. For example, imagine that I'm making an article, a blog post, which I will do after every training. I try to create a blog post which explains what the training was about. In case somebody wants to read actually the article, maybe it's easier without the slight pronunciation, this tiny accent. So imagine I'm making an article talking about the duplicated content. It would be, for example, pinkseo.marketing/duplicated content. The issue of duplicated content itself might arise if, for example, the search engine starts considering as a different page, as a different URL, the same page with the category name. So, for example, I decide to go, for example, and I use this technical pinkseo.marketing/technical SEO, that's the category name, slash duplicated content as a URL. In this case, you would have a duplicated content issue on the page, and this is something that happens quite often, and it's a consequence of some wrong setup in your CMS. Another thing that can happen and can create duplicated content is, for example, if you decided to make an AMP version of your website. AMP stands for Accelerated Mobile Pages. And this is a project, you might have heard of it because, or we will talk about it in the future. It becomes slightly more intensively technical, so I'm trying to keep it very, very basic. It is a project which was sponsored by Google, but it was not it did not just belong to Google. It was even supported by some major players like Twitter, Pinterest, Bing, and so on. They all worked together on creating this project designed to make very, very, very fast loading mobile pages, accelerated mobile pages. This kind of pages have the HTML, which is the programming code, which has been stripped down, which has been cleaned by most of the things. Imagine you put your HTML of your website on an extreme diet. It is the thinnest, the lightest kind of code your site might have. So the pages are not even so nice, so cute looking at them. It's very, very basic if you check it. And the aim for it is to have these pages super lightweight and very, very, very fast in loading. The issues with AMP versions of your site might arise in case they have not been implemented very well. So there are amazing benefits in having an AMP version of your site. And you might consider it, you might want to ask somebody, you can pop me an email or however you like, to get an idea of how could be to have an AMP version of your website. Just make sure that if it's not done in the right way, it does cause duplicated content issues. It doesn't happen if it's done the right way. But if not, then every page of your site might have at least one duplicate. So this would be quite a problem. And these are all some kind of technical problems, but there are really many more, and some of them are a little bit more complicated. So the aim for telling this is that you really might not be aware that you're having this kind of issues, and you can detect them. Now I will let you know how to detect do it yourself some of them, but you might not be able to find them all. So if you just want to be sure that you're having the situation very clear, you can request a site audit. I can perform it for you, or you can ask it any SEO professional you like. But the site audit check can let you know about the health status of your website and exactly how, if there are any invisible, unnoticeable SEO, technical coding issues which might affect the SEO of your website. If you remember, I always say that the SEO is like a triangle. So there is on a side the code, the content, and the backlinks. And this is the side of the code that we're talking today. So we are really checking which could be the problems in the code. And these are invisible to the eye. You can detect them with the site audit. They can be fixed by a developer, and it's really not a big issue, but it can make an immense difference because generally as soon as you start fixing your duplicated content, you start seeing some results. And it's one of the ways that is the most effective kind of fixes that you can do on a code perspective. How you can detect these kind of issues on your own? Well, basically you can do it in some ways. For example, you can try using the search operators. I don't know how familiar you are with the search operators, but for example, if you want to find something on your website, you can go on Google, for example, and in the navigation bar, in the URL bar, you can just type site column, and then you type the URL of the site, and then you leave a space and you write your word, or the word that you want. In this case, you would have to add, for example, in title, and then the keyword, the thing that you want to search for. In this way, for example, you could find out all the URLs which are existing on your own website or on another website that you want to scan, which contain this specific keyword or particular words that you've typed. Then there is a lot of online tools that you can use to find out duplicated content. If you type on Google online tools for duplicated content, you will find plenty of tools which do this. Some are for free, some are not, but if you check them, if you start working with them, you will have an idea of what happens if, for example, something has been copied on other sites from yours. Or, for example, if you want to be really sure about one part, if you think that there really is something which has been exactly copied, then you can just copy paste it. You copy this part of this content and you make a manual duplicate check. You paste it into your Google search box, and Google will let you know if somewhere else this kind of content exists. Will it be penalized? Is a question that is always answered before having a real knowledge about it, because the penalization for the duplicated content is a part of a bigger, the duplicated content is generally considered by Google as something which is not deceptive in its purpose. I mean, Google knows that most of the sites can have duplicated content for technical reasons, and they only penalize it. It may trigger manual action if there is this kind of duplication. If it has been done on purpose, if it's been done in order to deceive or to manipulate the results and the search engine ranks. So, for example, in this case, if you use some substantial block of content of text on different parts of your site or on other pages, and you really want to do it for getting different better ranks, then this might really get you in trouble, particularly if you add to this having even some kind of thin content. The thin content are the pages which really do not give very informative material. They have no quality content, or it's very little. If you combine having content which is so clearly being manipulated, for example, you just use these silly spinners to change a few words, or you try to put a few keywords in that, you changed it a little bit to reuse it somewhere else. If you combine all those things together, well, you're in a dangerous territory. If you want to be safe, one of the things that I recommend you, if, for example, it happens to you that for some reasons you need to have duplicated content across different domains, for example, if you have different websites and you need to have the same kind of page on different sites, and you want to make sure that Google does understand which is the main page that this content belongs to, so how to attribute the ranking power of this content, to which page should it attribute it, to use the canonical attribute. You find the canonical attribute, for example, if you have a WordPress and you use Yoast, you find the canonical attribute at the bottom where you have the icons. There is the icon shaped like a traffic light, then there is the social media icon, and then there is the gear shaped icon, which is the advanced options of your SEO Yoast plugin. And here you find at the end you find the canonical URL, and the URL which you should place in this field as a canonical URL is the one that you want Google to consider as valid, as important. You want the ranking of this page and all the metrics to be attributed to this URL which you're inputting here. So basically you're saying this page, you can find it here too, and this is the place you need to consider as most important. So it's called canonicalization. Yes, I did it, and try saying it 3 times. So this is what you can do to try and put yourself safe from issues of duplicated content. So I hope it was clear enough, not too technical, not too difficult. I meant basically to let you know that duplicated content happens everywhere. If it happens to your site, it's not a shame, you're just normal. It's just something that you have amongst millions of our other websites. But to get it, to find it, and to get it fixed can really make the difference. You can. It's one of the things that you could keep an eye on, because sometimes it is a problem that can appear again, and but it's always fixable, and it is one of the things that can give you the rewards in terms of ranking faster, and as soon as you notice and you get rid of it, it can really make some good difference. So I hope you liked it. Share this article with anybody who you think might be interested in getting to know something more about how SEO works and how their website work. We will meet again next week. Let me know if you liked it and what you would like next session to be about. Thank you and have a lovely week. Bye. Bye bye.